We are about to build our dream high-tech garden. We're going to add as much magic as we possibly can to turn this pit into a literal outdoor paradise. Okay, so let's start with audio. So the thing with outdoor sound is it's very easy to just stick one massive speaker in the back of your garden and your neighbors are going to hate you. But if we instead went for many smaller speakers, then when you're sitting outside, everyone is going to be close to a sound source, but that sound source doesn't need to be loud, so it won't disturb anyone else. So we've been recommended this company called Ambisonic. Oh, they really are beautiful.
I was about to say, I don't know where the speakers are.
Whoa, burial speaker, that sounds morbid. We're going to get a combination of the different types of speakers, and then ideally we just bury some subwoofers in the ground itself. And the reason you can actually do that with a subwoofer is because the low bass notes, they're not very directional. You know when you're listening to high notes and mid notes, you need that music to be fired directly into your ear. Whereas for bass, you just need to stick a subwoofer somewhere in your vicinity and you will feel it. So I feel like the main place where all our tech is going to go is the entertainment area. We're basically carving out a sunken area in the garden to have a hot tub and a fire pit.
Yeah, one of our key things is spending more time outdoors, so we want to make it as inviting as possible.
Oh, so the actual jacuzzi company does a 19-foot jacuzzi.
Basically a swimming pool at that point.
We'd probably maximize the space if we get a smaller hot tub and a bigger fire pit. The new JLX collection. The way they light up the water makes it the most inviting void that you just want to jump into. Holy cow. This one looks even better. It's got 55 jets compared to 39 on the other one, and a rolling back massage. What even? So then, we have to make a decision on this fire pit. There's a number of different options you can choose when going for a fire pit. You either get gas, you get wood, or you go bioethanol.
With bioethanol, you get less heat, but it's way cleaner.
Yeah, so there's no soot, there's no ash, and it's just using renewable plant byproducts as well. I'd feel better about it.
But we probably do need a place for people to put down food and snacks if it's going to be the entertaining area.
Oh.
I like the lowness of it.
Yeah. Also unrestricted view to the people around you and the environment.
Okay, so then what else do people have in a garden? Barbecue?
Barbecue. Is that a plank of salt?
That's a plank of salt. So this is an electric barbecue.
Wait, it says by Heston. Oh, the chef.
So this is your favorite chef?
He's cool. I definitely like him. He's the kind of guy who, he's quite famous for presenting foods that look like one thing, but then you cut them open and you realize they're actually something very different.
The 4K is the next level of outdoor cooking. Whether it's burgers, a roast chicken, leg of lamb, some pizza, it does it all.
I do like the idea of one thing that cooks everything. You can get it in orange? Wow, it's like a McLaren. Oh, I love the idea of getting a water feature in the garden. Oh, I love the glass. That's really cool.
That's so cool. Not in fact, these are hollow. So this is just a thin, you can see my finger on the other side.
Oh, so like this.
Oh, that's so stunning how the bubbles come up through the middle and then the water tips around the edges.
And it's got a light inside.
Yeah, it's
That's
gonna...
lighting and water feature in one. Now we need heat outside.
Oh, that's adorable. Oh, that one's pretty. The design is, interesting. The automatic tilt over protection disconnects the power if it tilts to one side.
Really good. That is safe.
It's kind of ironic that we're building a fire pit, but the heat actually comes from this. I feel like the one thing that would complete this is like an all-weather outdoor TV. Okay, so there's a company called Sunbright who specifically design TVs for outdoor. Very expensive for a 75-inch screen. Okay, so it's still saying that this is designed for shaded outdoor spaces.
Yeah, given where we are, because we're so high up, we're going to get sun all day.
And so I think even that will probably be washed out.
Oh, Samsung do outdoor TVs.
You'd have to have an exceptional level of brightness. Oh, 2000 nits. But it's not just brightness. The other part of this is the anti-reflections. And if they've done anything like as good of a job on that as they have their phone, it'll make a massive difference to visibility.
Yeah, look at this image. You can actually, like, if this is the difference, that is massive.
It's what Samsung tells you is the difference.
We did say we wanted something outdoors where we can play a few games as well. And I found this. So it's got table tennis, it's got pool, and it's a table.
You're literally the best. You know what's cool about this is it looks like it has all of those things, but it's actually a really nice table as it is. I feel like loads of those multi-game tables look really cheap.
Oh, lighting.
And if we're gonna have Philips Hue lights inside, it's kind of cool to have them outside too.
The ability to just change the theme with one click and all of your lights change around you.
What I actually particularly like about these themes as well is that they don't just set every light in your garden to the exact same shade. It's like a curated selection of shades that creates a vibe. I think we basically just want to get a lot of these standard GU10 bulbs and fit them all across. I think we need 50 bulbs. It took about 2 months to get and to fully integrate all of these products, not least because we had to put up an entire scaffold just to get the hot tub into here by crane. It was a whole thing. But we are finally there. This is the dream garden. There's garden gadgets and tech hidden everywhere here, which I have now tested. So this is my least favorite to my most favorite thing here. And with every single thing we test, we will turn it on and we will keep adding to this setup. So let's start with the only thing here that if we were to do this whole thing again, we would probably do differently. The fire pit. Because as you saw, we went for bioethanol. The main upsides being that there's no plumbing, there's no electronics. Really? This is a tub. So, you know, there's zero setup. And you get a very clean fire with no pollutants. We chose this because we've got one of these bioethanol fires in our living room, and that one is amazing. But here's the problem. Let me actually light it right now to show you. So we open up the lid, you stick the tip of this rod in, get it a little bit wet with the bioethanol on the inside, and then you light that before lowering that back into the fire pit and starting the whole thing. Can you see the issue? The fire is on. It's just that bioethanol does not translate nearly as well to the outdoors. Because this is where you're not as worried about pollutants, since you're not trapped in a small room with the fire, and it's also where you really want your fire to be very bright and very hot. Neither of which this is, just because bioethanol is not the most energy-dense substance. So if it's a cold winter night, then sitting around this isn't going to offer you much extra comfort. Hence these heaters, which have been everything we expected them to be, by the way. So I'd give the fire pit a 7 out of 10. It still sets the mood. The fire does pick up a bit over time. It's a great coffee table. But if you were ever to do one of these for yourself, I would recommend you go for a gas fire. The only other thing that isn't quite what I hoped it would be is something we keep on a separate level. This is just outside the house. It is the Crucible games table. I mean, the thing is, just look at this thing. It's a table tennis table on the top, but then also it's a pool table underneath, and a very functional one at that. It's spacious, the balls don't drift. You can very comfortably play a game here. And you know what, the best bit? If I put a little upward pressure on this seat, there is an actual gas pump hinge on the inside, which means it basically does the lifting for you to reveal everything you need to use the table stored inside. Yes, please. If this functionality didn't already exist in the table, you probably know me at this point. It is exactly the kind of thing I would have been trying to build into the table. So thank you. We can edit that out, can't we? I was focusing on presenting, okay? Now, the problem is there's actually a pretty large sacrifice that you have to make to also make all of this functionality weatherproof. For example, when you're playing pool, because they can't use proper pool table cloth, they've got a different, thinner weatherproof fabric on here. You can hear this metallic rolling of the balls. But also, they've made this top layer out of aluminium, which is great for the weather, but it's really horrible and cold to the touch in winter, and then it can burn you in the summer. All finished off by the fact that as a surface for table tennis, it just sounds pretty horrible and clangy. So I still don't think you can get better than this for an outdoor games table. It's just, there are compromises. 7 out of 10. But now we're getting to the good stuff. This is the Heston Blumenthal Everdure 4K. Think of this just like a very advanced barbecue. So you put your charcoal on the inside, you put your food on top, and then instead of messing around with fire starters and matches, this has an electric burner built in, which means you just tap this one button and that does the lighting of the coal and the general heating on the inside. And do you remember that celebrity tech video we did a while back, where my main conclusion was that celebrities should probably just stick to their day jobs? Well, you know what, Mr. Blumenthal, I take it back. Just for you. This is very clever design. So look, all accessories like the handle that you can use to take this basket out to wash it, they're stored in the cooker itself. The pizza stone holds on the back. The power cord is retractable. You just give it a tug and it goes right back in. And you can even drop charcoal in from the sides while cooking so that you don't need to take the grills off the top. Not to mention that unlike a normal Barbie, where everything is manual, here you can control the exact temperature. Oh. It actually smells so good. The thing's even got built-in meat probes that let you see the temperature on the Heston Blumenthal app. We have tested this, we have tasted this, and my goodness, it is a treat. So I would call this an 8.5 out of 10. The only caveat just being that it is also a lot more expensive than a normal barbecue. But I think we got particularly lucky with that water feature over there. I feel like these things just take you somewhere else. Because they're transparent, from a lot of angles, all you see is the water. You barely see the glass, so it just looks like this magic bubble. You hear enough trickling that it sounds pleasant, without being so much that it sounds like something's leaking. And the light inside makes it such a vibe at night, instead of, you know, disappearing. So I would go as far as to say 9 out of 10. The only issue being that while they might look like weightless bubbles, they certainly don't feel like them. It was a 3-man job just getting this thing up here. Oh, and actually, Sausages are looking good. Look at those grill lines. I'm so far yet to achieve that with a normal barbecue. Oh, do you know, while we have tested all of these products individually, this video is actually the first time that we're turning everything on together. So it's kind of surreal. And now, the Samsung Terrace TV has actually ended up being an even higher tier product. The last time we had a TV outside was when we built our biggest iPhone and tried to wheel it around central London. And doing that made it very clear to us how difficult it is to pull this off. Normal TVs don't have the brightness for this, and any exposure to any elements is a problem. Like, just as an example, some of the plastic on our big iPhone actually started warping thanks to the heat from the sun. We also had to pick the perfect second to film our shots in the small moments where you could actually see the screen clearly, which just makes it all the more impressive that you don't need to think about any of that here. You turn it on and instantly it is so bright, and this thick boy enclosure that the thing comes in means that it's another one of those outdoor products where the technical recommendation is, yes, you should cover it up the second you finish using it, but one that's actually resistant enough that it will probably be fine even if you don't. I feel confident enough that I can give the remote a good swirl around. This is an IP56 remote, and you can just do that. I would not do that unless I was absolutely sure it was going to be fine. But what I think is the single most impressive thing about this is that outdoor TVs usually have pretty terrible contrast because their focus is just on cranking the brightness as high as it can go. Not here. They quite often have massive input lag because no one's ever really using these things for gaming, but that is not an issue here either. It is such an impressive piece of kit, honestly. So 10 out of 10, right? Well, just like the Everpure, the only thing that I would say holds it back is the price. It's a very good product, but you do pay about 3 times the price of an equivalently spec'd indoor TV, just because this is very expensive to pull off and it's very niche, so Samsung probably isn't getting a lot of economies of scale. 9.5 out of 10. It's starting to get dark now. This area is gonna hit completely different when the lighting comes on. Now, one Achilles heel of that Samsung TV is the speakers aren't the best, but that's where these things come in. So let's talk speakers. Now, there are 2 different types of speakers that we've gone for in this garden. We decided that when you're down here, you're close to the house, you're close to neighbors who you don't want to keep up, and you're very likely to all be clustered around quite a small area here. And all 3 of those things means that this is the perfect place to use very directional speakers. So all of these speakers, they fire out sound in really narrow cones. So from here all the way to about here, the music is super clear, but as soon as I take further steps out of that, the volume drops off very quickly. It's kind of trippy. And then to aid these directional speakers, we've also planted a subwoofer on each end of the row. But I think what we've got up here is even cooler, because this space is very different. Because we're now near the back of the garden and we're less likely to disturb people, and because this whole thing is designed to be an open area, you know, you might sit here, you might sit here, you might sit here if you really want to. So this is the perfect area to have omni-directional speakers. So every one of these traffic bollard-looking things is actually a 300-watt, 360-degree speaker. And each one has a much wider subwoofer that we've hidden below this decking area. But here is my favorite thing about this. Even though, yes, you do want to hear this sound all around this area to make it feel like an open space, there are still areas where it makes 0 sense for sound to travel. Like, there is no extra benefit for any sound coming past this point, and the same on the other side. So this company also makes a film that goes inside of here. We've got ours coming in a couple of days, and that will block off areas where you don't want the sound to go. So 360 speaker doesn't necessarily mean 360-degree sound. It just means that you can pick the cone of sound that you need for your specific space. Oh yeah, Heston Blumenau, that's good. I feel like a proud dad moment here. 5-second rule. Okay, so you remember how I said the Samsung Terrace TVs were really expensive? Well, there is a much more cost-effective way to build a really good outdoor cinema. So this is the XGIMI Mogo 3 Pro, our sponsor. And it's a little bit mind-blowing just how easy this thing makes it. So you plug it into a power bank or the power bank stand, which has a hidden battery inside of it. And then that is literally everything you need. This is the projector, which has built-in rotation. It projects at whatever angle you want with upgraded intelligent screen adaptation that corrects the image so it isn't slanted. It's a computer with built-in Google TV, so this runs all of your apps and streaming services without needing anything else. And it means I can instant AirPlay anything from my phone directly onto the screen. Plus, I mean, the thing is a stereo Harman Kardon sound system, which means that it doesn't matter what you click on, it will automatically start playing audio straight through it, but also that this thing is a separate separate Bluetooth speaker if you want it to be, and an ambient light if you just want to use it as that. Link below to find out more. It is getting chilly. Now, the single biggest undertaking in this entire garden, though, has got to be the hot tub. I mean, you've seen what it took to get it here, but it doesn't end there. One of us will literally be out here once every 2 weeks doing some sort of maintenance to it as well, because if we don't, it becomes unusable. You can have too little chlorine, you can have too much chlorine, you can have filter issues, particle issues, the list goes on. But I want to try and share the feeling of stepping into this for the first time. There is just something uniquely special about walking out into this brutal British winter, shivering your way up the stairs, and then reaching out with your nearly frostbitten fingers to reveal 40-degree water and steam like billowing up into the air. There's speakers hidden inside of here. They're not the best though, we probably won't use those. But my absolute favorite thing here is something I was a little worried was going to be a gimmick, but I am so glad that I've been proven wrong, because the rolling back massage feature rules. When you step into this, you kind of naturally fall into one of the seats carved out on the inside. And then when you do, behind your back, you will have this incredibly powerful set of jets that basically combs up and down your spine. It is massage chair quality of massage, but combined with that ethereal feeling of being in hot water in the cold, also a 9.5 out of 10. But for me, even I would say this isn't actually the highlight. The highlight is the lighting. For the last 10 years, I have dreamed of the idea of owning a garden in which I have complete control over all the lights in it, to be able to create scenes like you see in the adverts. And that is now a reality. We turned every single level of this garden into its own separate zone on the Philips Hue app, which means if I click rainbow, isn't that crazy? Can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. But then, let's say that you're sitting in front of the fire and you want to feel like you're just engulfed by that fire effect. Fire pit mode. You tap that once and then every single one of these Philips Hue lights will be able to mimic the natural flicker of the fire. The other really useful thing about smart lights though is that you can set schedules. So all of these lights, they turn on when it gets dark, but then they turn off as soon as we go to sleep. So they're only on in the moments you can appreciate them. But there's one more thing. Oh yeah. Whoa. I feel like I'm watching a firework display. Next video in the house series is the final video, and it's going to be pretty special.